This is my final presentation for my Tech Art class for the spring 2021 semester. I chose to do the tool creation aspect of the technical artist position, or the technical artist specializing in tool creation, depending on the studio you're at. One thing that's worth noting is that there's a very fine line, and some may say non-existent, between technical artists that work on tools and tool programmers or engineers. The main difference I was able to find is that technical artists tend to spend more time with the artists, and designers or tool programmers and engineers tend to work more with the engineer and programming sides, though both bridge the gap between the design, art, and programming. Of course, I'll do my best to remain on the technical art side, but there's bound to be some overlap. Now, with that out of the way, let's get started. According to Eric Chadwick, who is the lead technical artist at Blue Fang Games, the main goal of technical artists are to help artists and engineers communicate fluidly, help designers and artists get their content into the game with the minimal amount of stress and difficulty, and just in general to make other developers' jobs easier. The usual duties and tasks of a technical artist that focuses in tool creation will of course vary between companies and projects, but typically they'll include things like creating tools that help smooth the content creation pipeline, monitoring and improving overall system performance as well as pipeline performance, locating development bottlenecks and creating tools to resolve them, providing technical support for and bug fixing previously created tools, and modifying existing tools to better fit the current needs. The tools and the software that will be used to make these tools, of course, also vary between companies and projects, but they typically include whatever engine is being used by the development team, which would be like Unity, Unreal, Snowdrop, etc. Some form of code editor that may be built into the engine, or it could be external like Visual Studio, and whatever combination of content creation tools are being used by the rest of the design and art team, whether it's Maya, 3ds Max, Substance Painter, whatever. And a good rule of thumb is that they should be at least familiar with most, if not all, of the tools used by everyone else in the team. Some necessary knowledge are things, besides all the things previously mentioned, is that they should be knowledge about most, if not all, of the aspects of content creation and the content creation pipeline. They should be able to communicate fluidly and effectively with everyone else in the team, be able to advocate for others on the team, be able to recognize quote-unquote unhealthy assets that could cause problems later, and be able to communicate with the creator of those assets how and what they should do to make it a better, quote, healthy asset. They need to have a basic understanding of physics and the math behind it, good problem-solving skills, be at least proficient in several programming languages, but especially Python and C++, and have basic knowledge of other languages like C#, Mel, MaxScript, and JavaScript. The types and the sizes, the more studios are needing tech artists, this game can become increasingly complex. Most studios that have more than a handful of developers likely need a general tech artist that covers all the aspects of tech art. If a studio has more than about 20 developers, they should probably have a tech artist for each specialty, one of which is tool creation. And this is all based off of my inferences between many different sources. I'll show my sources at the end. Some examples of things created by tech artists generally fall into one of a few categories, and it's worth noting these are not by any means like official categories. These are just categories that I've created based on different examples that I've seen, kind of grouped together. And it's also worth noting that oftentimes tools can fit into multiple different categories at once, but these categories are things like new tools and features, efficiency and improvement tools, content creation tools, and utility tools. New tools and features include tools that allow developers of the program to do something they were previously unable to do. An example of that is the Substance Painter plugin for Unreal. Normally, Unreal is unable to read the SBSAR files from Substance Painter. However, if you install the Substance Painter plugin, it can now read them and use them as material, which is a new feature that's added to Unreal through that plugin. The efficiency improvement tools are typically trying to make long, tedious, or repetitive tasks faster and easier. Some examples include tools that allow you to change the settings on multiple assets at once instead of having to do one at a time, Maya's instancing tool, Unity's auto ragdoll creation tool, and of course Unity's famous prefabs. Content creation tools are tools that enable or assist directly in the creation of new content or assets. And remember how I mentioned that there was overlap? This first example of Unity's Pro Builder tool could also fit in new tools or features, because it also is a new tool. Unity doesn't really support modeling, but with that plugin it now supports modeling. Example of overlap. But Unity's Pro Builder tool also is a content creation tool. Some other examples could be a new custom tool in Maya, or a tool like the procedural bridge creator we made in Houdini. Utility tools are tools that assist with other background tasks or that don't fit in any other category. They typically include things like importers and exporters, pipeline system performance improvement, rendering speed improvement, etc. Now, if I were to go into this field, the things that I would still need to learn to become better and more experienced in Python, refresh my quite rusty C++ skills, learn more about character rigging and animation, and learn more about the specifics of the art pipeline. Here are my sources, and thanks for watching. Are there any other questions?